Salut les petits insectes, les petites bêtes. Je suis en train de faire quelque chose maintenant, les choux. Hey. Always double check is ready. Yes. Ready to play. Okay. Excellent. All right. So the tournaments are open to join already. Lee, arrête. Descends et quitte cette pièce. Et Lupin, si tu peux fermer la porte après, merci beaucoup. Or not. Okay. All right. We got Renek in here. Looking for Yuri. Meow. All right. Let's try. Let's try switching to the full screen board in case there's a lot of people in the tournament. We'll hope for that. There we go, the full board. Mr. Charlie Silva, what country are you in? What time zone? What day? What year? Whew! Yes, Dripman! Cartier! All right, guys. Let's get back. Let's get back to it. Today is Labor Day in the US, yeah. So we got, most of us in the US have the day off work, or a lot of them. You have to go get some exercise. You going to a Frisbee game then? Heritage Park. Is this labor or a labor of love? More the latter. I mean, in general, I do things I like, so most of my like work life has been labors of love, right? So how about just fair wages instead of a holiday? We could use a holiday too, Charlie. We need a little work-life balance up in here. So what are we going to do, Harappa? About Labor Day or about playing chess today? No way, Amanda. No way you're over 1,300 now. That, you're kidding me. 1,300 too? Wow. You made use of the time I was away. Wow. Unbelievable. I mean, believable, but unbelievable. It's really true. Hey, Niz. Cross that 1,300. Oh, the 13 to 1,700 section is full already. Nice. That's good to see. Hey, Dren. Dubai. Charlie's in Dubai. That's what I was looking for. In Dubai. So let's see what time it is. I'm going to guess it's going to be like 10, 11 hours away again. 8:49 p.m. Ooh, that's late. That's late. Thanks, Morphe fan. Thanks. All right, we got Small Droid here. Welcome to the tournament, Small Droid. Happy to have you. We got somebody representing Chennai. I don't know if Vishy's going to be playing today, but we've got Harappa. I am Arud. I stayed in bed late today. I mean, the kids were kind of like jumping on me and screaming in my ear, but I persisted. I persisted through the beating. Dr. Geektarist. Geektarist. I'm looking forward to some fun games. It's been a long time. It's been at least 2 months since I've done one of these. And I think the first weekend in July, I might have not done, the last weekend that I was home, I might have not done a tournament like this because I had my little backyard tournament that I played in myself. So I might not have run a tournament for everybody that day. Or maybe I just ran it the afternoon after the last round. I don't know. It's been a while either way. A really big Tari fan. It's possible. Tell us the results, Seth. Tell us the results. Thanks, Charlie. All right, let me put a puzzle up here for you all to warm up while we're waiting for the tournament to start in 10 minutes, right? What's a good puzzle? Okay, this position here, what is the best move for black? That'll be our first puzzle today. Black to play. Bye for the first 2 rounds. Got a forfeit win. Played with a kid. Beat a kid. Played the same kid twice? Why did they... You had 3 rounds off and then they paired you with the same person twice in a row? A doctor and a guitarist. That's a sweet duo of skills. Oh, I thought he played casually, but it was a non-tournament game, a casual game, and then he got paired with the person he'd... Thanks, Morphe. Helping me with the reading comprehension this morning. Okay. Like in advanced boards, huh? In what? In Derm? The one that matches your rapid rating, Harappa. You'll only be able to join the one that matches your current chess.com rapid rating. I'm gonna make a Twitter announcement. I don't know if that's really necessary, but it's been a while. I'm gonna take that. I'm gonna go that extra step there. See, Twitter says Happy Labor Day to all my chess friends, and a reminder that chess players and workers should form a union. Raja was far from the only player who didn't want to play, but they were bullied into it by management. Share of income going to the top 10% union membership. Looks like it's pretty much at an all-time high, 50% of all income. All right, back to the chessboard. Anybody got an answer for me here? Black to play. What is the best move and why? Best move and why? And analyze them without the engine, for sure. Morphe fans enjoying living without Twitter. But Morphe fan, you hurt my follower count by 1 by deleting Twitter. Don't you regret that? Now there's going to be some clown out there with more followers than me. Pediatrics, much better, doctor. And Seth already winning money from his, from his first OTV tournament. That's fine, Steve North. That's fine. Okay, we've got a suggestion of G6, a suggestion of E5. Give me a reason. I just want to hear a reason. We'll find out soon, Cartier. That question and more will be answered in 5 minutes here. 4-1 in the Colorado Open. Nice, Nordovik. Well, Opfashach would say H5, but... That is totally okay, Palinka, yeah. These tournaments, you're free to play as many or as few games as you want. Just remember, folks, if any of you, I know it's been a while since we've done this probably, but if any of you are withdrawing from the tournament, there will be a little X you can click to withdraw. Don't click the X during a game because it'll resign for you unless you're planning to resign that position, and that's your way of resigning the game and the tournament. But right after you finish a game, let's say after round 1, you want to stop the tournament, or after round 3, you want to stop the tournament. Right after your game ends in a draw, win, or loss, go click a little X in live chess in the tournament info area, and that'll withdraw you from the tournament so that somebody doesn't get paired with you next round after you leave. Tons of cash, yes. Want to make quick cash, everybody? Study chess for 1 year at the chess dojo and then play an entire weekend and you could win $100. And then in small print, minus entry fee and USCF membership. That's a great commercial you're envisioning, Seth. Trying to nerf the DSB. Nice. Scott's head still hurts from last night. You took on something pretty tough there, Scott. E5 in order to stop D4. Okay, so for those joking about the move A4, this pawn is too far exposed without any support. It does improve the rook and it does cripple these pawns on A3, B2 by taking this square. But white can just play knight C3, developing a piece, something black hasn't done yet, and then this pawn is lost next move, as an example of just how bad A4 is. So, of course, Hirud, yeah. I don't think so. No, almost sure it's not. Sofa, living room, big sofa. Okay, so we've got a serious answer of E5 to stop D4, and certainly D4 is one of the most likely next moves from white. We've got a suggestion of G6, Bishop G7, which looks good because this pawn is already going to this diagonal. And I think the inclusion of these moves would actually slightly improve the King's Indian defense. What do you guys think? I think slightly, because there are these battles in the King's Indian where the knight tries to go to C5. And I think having the pawn already on A5 with the rook here, with the possibility of A4 in some situations, would slightly help black if they played, like knight F6 or G6, here, here. If you played like a King's Indian like this, I think the inclusion of these moves would be fine for black in a King's Indian. So that's definitely a reasonable consideration. I think the move C5 is a little bit worse here. The symmetrical English is normally considered a good opening in this position, right? C4, C5, right? Knight F3, Knight F6. This is considered a very solid super grandmaster defense to the English defense for black. But I think that the inclusion of these two moves, so that you're committed to this B5 square being kind of weakened, makes the symmetrical a less good choice here. Yeah. So I think that's probably not as good. So how does this impact the E5 line? I think in the E5 line, it's very common for white to play A3, and black sometimes plays A5. So it shouldn't make the E5 line much worse or much different than normal. The master of plans wants to know what we're planning. Maestro, I am planning to make these tournaments weekly, as they were before my stint in Hawaii. So I do not, Hirud. Well, Plan Maestro, normally it'll be on Sunday because normally Monday will be Labor Day. But other than that, I think we'll probably shoot for 10 a.m., yeah. All right, Mr. Jingles. Welcome. Good luck. Currently special prize to zero sum for being one of the two bravest souls in the tournament. The two bravest souls at the start of any tournament are the highest and lowest rated players. The lowest rated player knows they're going to have to play up and may feel some trepidation about tough opposition. The highest rated player may feel like, well, I'm expected to win. You know, if I win, they'll just say that I was expected to win. And, you know, if I lose, I'm going to lose a lot of rating points. So National Master E.S. Rosenberg, currently the highest rated player, is one of our two bravery participants here right now. So, yeah, trying to quit caffeine. Cool. Good luck with that, Erud. I don't think that drinking caffeine on a regular basis is likely to be super good for you. So your plan to cut it back or eliminate it is probably a good one. Not that I'm a doctor or an expert. You could ask the guitarist, if you should be doing that. Yeah, I've heard other people getting pretty bad headaches when they do it. All right, folks, if you're over 1,700, you've got 20 seconds to join this tournament. There's the link from Bone Meal the Lion. Get in there, play some chess. There's some great, fun players waiting for you in that section. Son just fell asleep. Yes. Oh, it's good timing, but it's also always good when your son falls asleep, right? Always good. Okay, e5, d6, f5. Yeah, that looks perfectly good. You could play a closed version of c4, e5. It's a great suggestion. You could maybe even play a Dutch defense here. Start with f5, knight f6, and then play for e5. Your opponent will get a chance to play d4. Will we be happy about a5? Probably neither happy nor sad about it. If we go with some variation like this, right, folks? This would be playable as well. I mean, honestly, this is not worse than the King's Indian defense. It's always slightly better to play the Leningrad Dutch, pretty much. Yeah. Anyway, there's not a right or wrong answer to this puzzle. I just invented it when I threw it up there for you all. Those are just some of your thoughts and some of my thoughts on it. So, for what it's worth, those are some considerations here. Oh yeah, I also considered the Slav defense, right? You could play a delayed Slav defense here as black. But my reservation actually was that if white played an exchange variation, this square would be weak, and this move would be really out of place in an exchange Slav. And so after bishop f4, like e6, e3, you know, with knight b5 and bishop b5 easily later on, I think this would be a little bit unpleasant for black. And I know a lot of people like don't fear the exchange Slav, and it's you know, played for draws and boredom and all that. But my feeling would be that this could be a little bit annoying for black. Enough so that it wouldn't be my top choice right here. I would go for either e5, f5, or g6, like a King's Indian setup, a Leningrad Dutch setup, or a c4, e5 setup. Those would be sort of like the three ones that make the most sense to me here. All right, now let's check out how our brave friend E.S. Rosenberg is doing, shall we? Facing my student. All right, let's see what Baron's got here. Wow, pawn on h4 with the black king on this side. The pawn is storming. You guys probably want to see 2 or 3 moves and see how it goes. Depending on your section, Dr. Guitarist, it's starting like right now. Like the 1300 to 1700 section just started as well. Here are their games. I'll open them up. They're on move 1. All games start automatically. Like chess.com just pairs people, so... And then the under 1300 section is going to start in 1 minute. I just staggered the starts by like 2 minutes to make it easier to get the games up. And also, like, just in case there are players who have never played in a tournament before, they're more likely to be in the lower section. So it gives them like 2 extra minutes to find the tournament and all that. Oh, you're the odd person out? You're in the top section then, Guitarist. So you're a doctor, a guitar player, and a high-rated chess player. It's pretty intense. Awesome. All right, let's check out this real quick, because this is probably like a slightly unusual and interesting thing for us to see how this H pawn like runs this early in the opening. Check, knight blocks. H5. So that move's going to end up being really good if white castles kingside, but Baron's going to castle queenside. He's faced this opening before. He even knows some opening theory on this position. He may even have seen the game Duda versus Magnus Carlsen. So we'll see. Hey, Coco. H4 castles. That pawn why does that pawn keep going? I mean, this is unusual, and frankly, I can't justify it either. Thanks, Neil. All right, good luck, Jingles. We'll talk to you between games or after games. Yeah, Anik. Well, you'll get a pairing next round for sure. And for anybody who wants to, you all can late join for round 2 for sure. The computer says H5 is better. Like that's a joke or you know it. It is slightly playing against this knight E2, yeah. But the knight E2's got another square. I feel like in a previous game of Barons, an opponent played G6 against him, maybe. But okay, we'll see what we think of this pawn on H4 because it's there and queenside castles happens. Black, of course, would like to throw these pawns, and they've shown willingness to throw pawns, but they also need some development. So, knight D7, knight F4, queen C7, G3, knight F8. Just calmly reorganizing the black pieces. Super calm. Okay. A Caro course. Cool. Well, good to know, Coco. Good to know. It definitely looks suspicious to my, poorly trained human eye. So I guess that makes sense that it's somehow a computer-inspired approach, right? So I think like one plan for white is to put the knight on H5 and the rook on G1 to threaten pawn takes H4. At the moment, you can't take on H4 because you hang your knight. And if you want to do anything on the king side, you probably have to do this, right? I mean, you can't do anything here. Could you try and push past it? Maybe. You would still need your knight defended. So I think like rook G1 and then knight H5. H5 could be a good square for the knight because if G6, you can take F6. Okay, so bishop C4 got played. That's bizarre because that's giving black B5, B4. Queen A5. And white pushes on the queen side? This game is sideways. This is just completely sideways. I'm going to use this as a focus game for this roundy rood and then bounce around a little bit on some other games. Let's open up the games from the under 1300 section, which has started by now. I believe that it makes a better show if I focus more on 1 or 2 games per round instead of 10. But I also think that people like for their game to like show up on the stream for a little bit. So for those of you who aren't playing but just watching, it's probably a better show for you if I focus more. But for those who are playing and will later check the VOD, they'll be really tickled if their game pops up. So let's tickle Mr. Jingles here for 1 second. Knight, 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 bishop, bishop, bishop. Okay, so it's equal material in this position. Black hasn't castled yet. White has, but with pawns advanced in front of the king, the fact that white's castled isn't looking like a huge advantage at the moment for white, right? Yeah, Dr. Guitarist, when you're playing, you should either turn off the stream or at least mute it so you don't hear me talking in case like I pop onto your game and like say what move you should play or your opponent should play or something. And then between games, you can always come back and like chat with us when you've got like your break between rounds. Hey, Opfeshach. Good to see you. All right, enjoy the frisbee. Yeah, so this shelters the white king. This is a very good move by Jingles to get this bishop out of Jingles' face. I was wondering if, like, you know, knight c3 or knight d2 might also do it while working on this queen side. The thing is, with the white king really weak, I feel like white needs to open another front somewhere on the board. So, you know, c4, queen a4. I feel like you need to get something else going as white in this game here. If black remains really solid in the center, I think they could use that as basis to launch a kingside attack. And I probably wouldn't have even castled here for black, because I'd be excited to attack the white king. What do you guys think of this? Queen h4, hitting these squares. You know, if king g2, you can come in. White could try and cover with the queen like this. And then for black, I would probably play this move, h5. Trying to develop the rook towards a checkmating attack. That looks extremely powerful for black as an option. So you always want to look for some aggressive attacking ideas if your opponent's king is that weak. Yeah. Yeah, we're going to work on that balance, Rud. We'll see if I can get it down right. And black could just take on h3, Coco, for sure. In the line I gave, there's no reason that you couldn't take this pawn. That's right. I was being even more ambitious for black by trying to develop the rook. Sometimes developing a piece is more powerful than taking a pawn, right? Because the impact of the piece is going to be worth even more than a pawn. So, like, if we take on h3 and queen g2, right, now we're going to have to, like, slow down and maybe just be up 1 or 2 pawns and not attack. It's perfectly good for black, Coco. If you like endgames, then this would be absolutely the right approach for you. For me, who really likes checkmates, I would throw in this move. I'm also obsessed with developing my pieces. Maybe like too much or whatever. Maybe I over prioritize development, but I certainly do. And especially like a rook is a very powerful piece. So like I'd go h5 here. Oh, sorry, not king g2, right? So I'd go queen here, trying to come across. And here I'd play h5. So now if white plays queen g2 and defends the pawn, I go take, and, you know, something like this. And my argument here as black would be that I'm crushing white even better than if I'd taken that pawn and traded queens, which I could be wrong about, but that would be the idea. So you see there's two different approaches. Also very likely that when you play h5, white's going to try not to open your rook, and they'll play g5. In which case, I can go back to taking this pawn, and I've just got a concession from white that my bishop's got some more squares, and this pawn structure's gotten weaker. Right? So when I play h5, I fully expect white to actually avoid my rook development and play g5, and then I'll go do what you were talking about, or maybe I'll do it like this to keep more attacking chances on the board. Right now I've got the idea of like bishop takes on h3, and then if the rook moves, queen g3, and you know, pretty strong. Oh, the exchange kid is a great choice. And there's nothing wrong with having, you know, preferences, Coco. So you should go ahead and do that. So here's how the game went. Knight a4, strong move by Jingles, stopping this kind of attack that was coming here. But white still needs something to do with the weakness around the king, and they choose to turn it into a strength, hopefully. They're trying to. They throw them further up the board. Jay Haley makes a great choice to bring the queen back towards the king side and takes a great square with this bishop. That blockades everything. Knight c5, takes, wins a pawn, developing the rooks. Lower rated players are often very, very slow to get their rooks involved. They like develop the minor pieces but forget the rooks. And here's a tactical shot. What's going to be done about this bishop? We've caught up with the live position now. The players are playing a little bit on the fast side, I would say. Not super too fast, but pretty fast. Like here, black really needed to consider d4 pretty seriously because this bishop's in great danger. Chose this move. Now, rook c1 is hopefully something that black considered before playing queen c4. Tournament lasts 2 hours and change, Irud. Oh yeah, and rook c1 just got played. All right, Putsy. We got a lot of people in chat who've recently played their first OTB tournament, and basically every single one of them has enjoyed it. I haven't heard yet a single dojoer come back and say, you encouraged us to play in OTB tournaments, and I went, and I just had a terrible time, and I wasn't ready, and all that. I haven't heard that a single time. I think everybody's loved it. So it's going to go great for you. You're going to have fun. If you feel nerves up to the moment of the tournament, try some physical activity to push the nerves out by changing your body's, whatever, heart rate and chemistry. So like a very, very quick workout. You don't want to be tired, but, even 30 seconds of physical strain can sometimes kick those weird nervous feelings out. That'll help you to try and sit down and play normally and enjoy. Ooh, Jingles. Jingles is going for some counterplay. And although Jay Haley has 3 extra pawns here, he's a little bit tied up on this bishop. And now there are checkmating ideas coming in. Yikes. Speaking of checkmate, we've got our first decisive results. We've got Boondock Striker scoring here with check. Oh, because the bishop was tied to the queen. A brutal strike here with this move. Takes. Wins the queen. If the queen had moved away, white would have gotten this for free as well. And a triple attack on all the remaining black pieces. Forces resignation. Our other knockout is an endgame by Clark. Focused on that c-pawn. Look at him fighting for the squares his c-pawn's going to need. And he knows the c-pawn can't be taken because of back rank mate. And then just marches it. Just clean, classic work right there. See what's going on here. Jay Haley is taking this seriously. Good for Jay. Clark should be back in chat any moment now, Charlie, since he's just won that game. Exactly, Putsy. You can't worry about like your score in that same way. Just have fun, try to play up to the level you expect of yourself from playing online, even though it's going to be a new format, a new surroundings, a 3D chessboard with pieces. If you can just adjust all of that and have fun, that's great. And just meet some local chess players will be fun too. You'll get somebody next round, Dr. Geek. I promise. All right, and we've got a Dast raid. Let's give him a shout out. Let's see how his channel's been growing, huh? Great. Got almost another 50% viewers in the last 2 or 3 days. Wow, Jay Haley showing why he's 1200 by really sitting down and thinking this through. Very nice. Oh yeah, anyone could still late join for sure. We're just in round 1. There's plenty of games to be played. For some people, 3 games would be too much. You can late join and just play 1 or 2 games and then withdraw and enjoy it. Hey, Pravid. All right. So, Jingles goes for his idea anyway. He's going to try and use this checkmate threat to win the game. And Jay has calculated a counterattack based on queen e3 that was supposed to keep the white queen stuck to e1. Now we'll see who's right and who's wrong in chess. A lot of times in chess, like one player calculates something, the other player calculates something else, and they say, you know, show me, I'm going to try this thing, you know, and then we find out who was right or wrong. And Mr. Jingles is about to find out in 1 second what Jay Haley had seen. You can't find a button to join. GoTricks, it's going to be based on your chess.com rapid rating. So you have to click on the correct link. Bishop d3. Oof. So GoTricks, you want to look on chess.com what your rapid rating is and then click on the correct of these 3 links to find it. Here in this play section. 1850 Rapid, you say, are you a member of our club? The chess.com/club/chessdojo. And you guys see Jay Haley had a powerful attack calculated out here. And it's coming crashing through. We will switch to our other focus game. Because that one, Jay Haley has won, right? I mean, does anybody have any questions about how this worked? This made sense, right? White actually could not afford to leave the center with the queen here for this checkmate. This queen e3 threat was just too much. Or this queen e3 defense, right? And there came the checkmate there. No, you don't need to be approved, GoTricks. The only other thing I could think is that maybe there isn't room for more late joins because there weren't that many people in the first round. It sounds like you did everything right. All right, so let's see what happens this game. b4. Queen came to the risky b6 square where queen c7 would have been safer probably. So it came back. d5 came in from Baron, very confident despite a high-rated player. Oh, yeah, Rosenberg saw this coming. He went for the exchange sack. White offers a queen trade, which he's not going to want, but he gives the queen trade anyway, because if he retreats his queen, then after pawn takes pawn, opening up the file, White is just streaming into the game. Black doesn't have the development or the anything to be playing this aggressively. And gets the rook to d8. Horror of horrors. Hang on. Since black's in such a bad position, why not grab this pawn? You can always play bishop b7 next move, right? Like if you think this is going to stop bishop b7 and win the bishop, you can actually play bishop b7 anyway right here, right? Oh, this is why he would avoid it. This transition from white. Yeah, Rosenberg can calculate that easily. Man, so he probably didn't take on c3 because of that. So now we get the trade. c3 gets defended. Baron's a good player. I mean, his odds of converting an endgame like this, even against a master, are quite high. Quite high. That whole exchange sack didn't make sense. I mean, so anytime you don't like what somebody does, and I don't like this right now, anytime you don't like what someone does, you have to propose an alternative. And here's my proposal. You play queen c7, and then after whatever white does, you play b5, attacking this. But most of all, blocking this pawn so it can be your hook, right? So white could go rook e1 or something. You go b5 here. Now this pawn can't move. It's blocked. So now you attack it. And that develops your rook and starts to crack this king's...
Hoping to get 15 seconds of fame from the U1300 event here. We will see. Smile. Thank you for hosting this for the holiday.
Good luck, Becker. Good luck in your tournament. You've got 1 point already, so that's a good start for you. This should be really great for black, I think. Okay, you see black trying to take over all the dark squares here. Attacking the rook. Rook moves. Slightly weird square it goes to. I was thinking you might want to go to the open file and get back here, but rook d1, bishop f3 is not particularly good for white. So rook g1, supporting the structure here. Takes. Oh yeah, with the rook here, black feared g takes h4, and then this pawn might drop. But actually, I mean, black could play something like here, right? Because of the bishop controlling these squares. Maybe black's playing a little bit too fast, right? Because if here, then you've got bishop f3. And then this pawn goes forward as a passer. So I don't think black should make this trade. I mean, white is trying to force the trade, trying to threaten gh4, hg5. But I think the bishop h2 tactics work out for black. So black shouldn't take. You need to keep this pressure because it's tying white down. I think black's chances are just really, really bad here. I don't think he's putting up enough resistance. That said, he's down to a minute. So, I mean, he's used the resources he has. He's just in straight up trouble here against Baron. So he gives the check, and he's maybe going to play bishop f3, take, and take to at least get past pawns. I mean, you got to do something. You've got a minute left. Your opponent's got 8 minutes. They're in a, probably winning endgame. You need to put the pressure on at some point. Oh, actually, like if king b3, bishop f3, there's this knight d4 hanging in the air too, which won't be that easy necessarily. Hey, Pleef. How'd you do, Zero Sum? You lost the first round. And that's what you call as expected. Good fight, man. Maybe bishop d3 is going to be preferred here by Baron. We'll see. Did anybody else run any of these tournaments in the last 2 months when I wasn't here doing this? Have there been any of these weekend rapid tournaments? And if so, how did they go? Have you guys still been keeping in practice? Okay, so here comes the threat, folks, right? Here comes the threat. It's takes, knight d4. And not simple for white to get out of this. So hopefully Baron's got a plan. There's also the idea of trades, and just taking the pawn on g3 to make passers. So this is like a good try by Rosenberg. This is one of the toughest moves Baron still has to figure out this game. Okay, he goes for a simplification. If bishop takes knight, he'll save this rook with check and then save his bishop. So we're going to get pawn takes, and then maybe like rook d2. Something like that. Black's got some chances here with the bishop pair, for sure. This pawn's weak, and the bishop pair is really strong. Black's definitely still got fair chances here. Best for white might be check, and then knight d4. Even though it's terrible to like purposely improve your opponent's king that much. But knight d4 hitting these two squares. Well, black's just got bishop d5. It doesn't help. Yeah. Okay, so rook e1 is preferred. These really need to get going soon because black's going to get counterplay eventually. This is a 3-on-1 with the bishop pair. This is very, very tight. Very tight. Yeah, the tournaments are rated, Sean. Seth beat Borjov, which I think was the name of the Soviet Grandmaster in the Queen's Gambit. Check. Pushing the king to the side. Oh, the king won't go to the side. %83 through. That's awesome, Yerud. I don't care about that stuff, though. I'm going to focus on the commentary. And if there's enough people watching who like it, cool. And if not, that's okay, too. We'll have more people next week as people get used to this being back. All right, so bishop d6 attacks the pawn on b4. Pawn on b4 moves. I guess on check, there'll still be knight c3, so white's not going to drop the rook. And this is really what white needs to do, is get these pawns going. White almost needs the counterplay here themselves, because black has achieved so much counterplay by now.
Hi all.
Yes.
Good luck in the tournament.
Very nice. Somebody wishes all of you good luck. Oh, it's Chess Latte. Latte, are you in Japan or America now? Thorbiddles is liking the black bishop so much that if black manages to promote, maybe black should get a third bishop. I'm down with that. That sounds fun. That sounds fun. This endgame is really, really tough right now. Oh, look at that blockading move. Makes you feel like you need king b4, and then after check, where are you going? King a5, check, king here. Oh, no, that's no good, man. Check. You're about to get pushed back. That was too fast. This was Baron not even looking one move ahead. I mean, he didn't even see this bishop b6 check when he made his move. And now Rosenberg's all up in his pawns. They're looking weak. Knight c3, but he chooses the rook. Oh, because this threatens a5, so at least it threatens something. That's nice. That's very nice. And he's got knight d4 next move. I feel like it's maybe still winning for white, but he's definitely struggling. He's definitely struggling. e5 stops knight d4, and I think allows a5. But that was probably the better choice, actually, by black, folks. I mean, this is pretty important. Like, this achieves something for white, but it doesn't completely queen just yet. Whereas, like, if the white knight gets in the game, like, hits the bishop, comes to c6, it's all but over. Here, white's going to have to calculate something very tricky if they want to win. a5, bishop f2 maybe, b6, pawn takes b6, a6. Bishop d5, a7, bishop a8. It might straight up win by force for white, but white would have to calculate it, you know, somewhat carefully maybe. Are you mad to think black's going to win? No, it's a rapid game. All kinds of stuff is possible. I mean, Baron's the favorite, partly because of the time situation. I mean, when needed, Baron's still going to have a chance to stop and think about what he's doing. I mean, and b6, pawn takes a6 is still going to be like the main mechanism for trying to win this position, I think. But what else could he do? He could try knight c3, knight e4 on the premise that if bishop takes here, it lets the pawns go. He could try putting his rook on c7 or c8 in advance before going for this breakthrough. There's a few options, but look, you see Baron's thinking about it, and that's like an advantage. Baron's capable of several good moves, my friends. So that reserve of time that allows him to, you know, come up with a good move here and there is going to be a big deal. If they were each in a 30-second time scramble, then I would say anything could happen. I would be with what you're sort of saying, Wrath of Gods. I'd be like, maybe black's going to win. You know, it's easier to use the bishops, and he's the higher rated player, so he'll probably be, you know, a little bit more calm under pressure, a little more likely to calculate a key variation real quick. The lower rated player is more likely to maybe be a little nervous for a moment, like I'm about to beat a master for the first time in my life or something maybe, right? So if they were even on time, I might give the edge to black here actually, but I think probably Baron's got very, very good chances here with the time lead. b6 right now is fully a good move, yeah, probably. Scrubs versus bros. You could, file heck, you could. Rook to b1. Looking to push this pawn, but I think slightly in the wrong way, because when the bishop comes here, that's hard to break. I think right here, what I would prefer for white is knight c3, e4. White's kind of playing without this knight, and I think that can only hurt you badly in the long run to try and play the whole game without this knight, right? So, yeah, maybe g4 now. King here. I guess he's hanging the knight, but planning to then queen. Black can go check, and after the king moves, takes on b6, and then after rook takes bishop here, but doesn't. Okay, king comes close up enough that the bishop can't stop him anymore. If you're in the under 1300 section, round 2 may have started. So if you're in the under 1300 section, PSA, your game may have started. So check it out in live chess. Yeah, rook b1 probably was a waste of a tempo. And now the black pawns, they get this tempo and they become much stronger. But now this rook is free. The king's defending this. The rook could come here or somewhere. And Baron's still got a couple minutes to work on it. Chess Latte. Last round. You're at a tournament, Chess Latte? You can play a round or two and leave, Piano Guy. Yeah, that's not just like okay. It's absolutely the intent of these tournaments to allow people to play however many games they want to. And someone can take it as a really serious tournament where they sit down and they know they're going to play all 4 games and they play their hardest for 2 hours and try to, win the tournament or finish with a 50% score or whatever their goal might be. And other people can take that very same tournament and say, I show up, I play 1 game, and then like I hang out and watch some commentary, or I run back to my toddler. So yeah, they're set up to be multivalent, for whatever you're looking for. Wait, there's Steve North and Neve Storth now? Wow, that's a shocker. And here Neve Storth is winning this endgame by resignation while Steve North is still playing this endgame here. Wow, Baron really investing that time here. Rook c1, c7, as Beyond Repute says, is the most obvious plan here at this point. Chess Latte, what's this tournament you're playing in? 4-hour-long games? That's good. It's very good. It is definitely the style of Pravid, that username. The New York State Championships. Nice. That's an exciting tournament. It seems like the late join Cartier was probably only room for 1 or 2 people because we had very few people in your top section who were joined in the first round. So late join is totally fine by me, but the chess.com system only allows it if there's up to a certain point or whatever. So it's like up to 20% of however many people were there in the first round is the system, I think. So there were only 8 people signed up for the first round, so they probably only allowed like 2 late entries. The time Baron used ended up hurting him, just allowed him to find bad moves, chess stock. Yeah, well, I mean, he left this knight on this square to never do anything, right? I mean, just absolutely never. Just played the whole game without it. Never tried to do anything about it. Rook c6, he would give up any hope of winning, right? Because black could take, and take here. And now white's got 0 chance of winning and might even lose since the black king can get in, shoulder out this king, and sort of get in here. It's a very good chance that that's even losing. So, yeah, so he defends the knight for the moment. Gets kicked over here. See what comes next. Dr. Geektarist, I think he's one of the best, if not the best, English language chess teachers in the world. So, yeah, anything he does is a good purchase. The question is your rating the target rating for his work? That's it. Like for any particular piece of work, an author has a different audience in mind, right? Like you can write something for somebody rated 1200 and something else for someone rated 2000. So once you know that somebody's a good author, basically all their work is going to be good. It's very rare to have like a chess author with some good work and some bad work. So, okay. there goes that knight that never did anything. And Baron's chances of winning this game have completely evaporated. The question is Baron about to lose? The answer looks like yes. It doesn't. I don't see how he's going to stop this. Yeah. And that's what happens when you just simply don't use your pieces at all. Baron was calculating moves, but he wasn't thinking about pieces. And that's a difference in the end game compared to middle games, right? In an end game like this, you can't just look like move by move by move. Sometimes you have to think about your pieces. He played the entire game with this knight on e2 without moving it. Let's see. It went to e2 on move 24 for the last time, I think. So it's made the game. This was the knight in the end game. Watch it. Right? Still there. 30 moves later, and it gets captured. And notice it didn't stay there because it was on a good square. It was almost on the worst square possible on the board, right? Almost on the worst square on the entire board. And that knight lost the game for white. Or you could say white lost the game for the knight by not listening to the knight's cries. Help me, use me. All right, so let's check out some games from round 2. Let's go to the 13 to 1700 section, which we didn't watch last round. Let's open up the games here. We got Neve Storth playing. Maybe we should check out Neve Storth's chess. Harappa. I think Harappa is a newcomer. Let's look at Harappa's game maybe. Give a newcomer some love and some attention. Also in progress, the under 1300 section, round 2. A. Becker looking for those 15 minutes of fame. And, well, it's a tense situation. Boondock Striker's got an open file and just moved e5, threatening queen takes h3. So it's a very, very scary situation for Becker right here, actually. And for an under 1300 section, this is a matchup of big dogs. These guys are both over 1200. And I've seen A. Becker play before. A. Becker is a very solid chess player. So scary moment for white. Definitely have to parry queen h3, but want to do it in the best way possible. But I said we'd look at the 13 to 1700 section. So let's pick this game here. Mad Bishop against Harappa as our second round game. Dr. Geek Taurus, there are still a few seconds left before your second round starts. Yeah. They're still playing out this queen versus rook here. Uh-oh. Hanging the pawn? What? Oh la la. That got more intense. Rook versus queen is not easy, no. But queen and pawn versus rook is easy. Wow. Wow. You guys feeling the pressure here? Oh man, that's a lot of pressure. Suddenly Baron's defending it like a computer too. I mean, wow. Truly putting in some wait, our focus game already ended. Before our previous focus game. Our round 2 focus game just ended, folks. This is not how games in the 1300 to 1700 section should end. Queen c7, threatening mate in 1, and white just allows it. In general, in these positions, you have to play either g3 or h3, with or without the checkmate threat. Like, this rook is on this file, you always have to play one of these moves. And you have to pick based on the color complexes which structure you want. Wow. Quick point for Harappa. And finally, Baron makes a slip at the end of an incredibly tough game. Wow. And bravo to Evan for putting his rating and his life on the line here against non-titled players. He survives once again to increase the legends of how hard it is to put a master down, right? So hard. Round 2 is going to start immediately. Good luck to Evan and Baron putting themselves back together and getting into that second round. I don't know why we celebrate Labor Day in September, Fromrad. And I do not drink margaritas, Irud. No alcohol, no caffeine. We saw Harappa, well done. You've got a big break before your next game. Let's open up other games of round 2 for the 1700 sections. Sean the Prawn will be also a tough opponent for Evan. And let's pick a different game for... Let's go for Neve Storth. Let's check out Neve Storth here. Potentially Praviduus. Here, playing a King's Indian / Benoni for black against Seth Lichtenstein. Your opponent that round was easy, Harappa. Yeah, they made a big blunder. Big, terrible blunder. You'll get a tougher opponent next round. Oh, you ate somebody's tongue, Charlie. Oh. Oh. Oh, you thought it was great. Okay. Whew. Good God. Horrifying for some of us. All right, big plan for black is to play b5 here. Yep, this is our focus game, Irud. We tried to make this our focus game, but anytime a game ends too soon, we gotta move on to something else. So we're gonna pick Neve Storth here. Oh, no, Scott, don't tell us about it here. You can talk about it in some like support group, but let's keep the dojo chat a little less violent than this, maybe. No a4. Seth just flaunts like the. So normally, I mean, if you guys haven't seen this before, this is black's main plan. White always prevents it. Black can never actually play it. Then they spend like 50 moves trying to do it. And Seth knows that, I'm sure, and just says, whatever. Do your plan and I'll do mine. He's not even willing to take one move out of his way to just stop black forever and then go back to his plan. And Neve Storth is really scared about h5 as well. I would have played b5 instantly, as black said. Thank you. Thank you. No one ever lets me play b5. But okay, here we go. Neve Storth correctly assesses that Seth just doesn't even care. He's not even going to stop this move. You're going to be watching the development series. Great, Michiko. Also some of my proudest work, along with the colored complex lessons that Scott was studying yesterday. That and development are probably the two most comprehensive pieces of chess teaching that I've produced, I would say. You're already in an academy. Cool, Harappa. That's great. In chess, my students are good. Are they? Well, you're going to play some of them in the next 2 rounds, Harappa, so you can tell me after you face them. I also hope they're good. But them being good is not even my first goal, Harappa. My first goal with my chess students is that they have a good, positive relationship to chess. That's my first goal. That they and chess maintain a healthy, positive relationship throughout their life, if possible. The development series is on chess.com. So you need a diamond membership on chess.com to watch all those videos, I think. We all are zero sum, and I'm very happy and proud to have you here. Oh, thanks, Wrath of Gods. I don't know if you can really recommend it to everyone, though. I mean, it's pretty high up there, right? Like if you were still rated 600, 800, I don't think you would really want to watch that, right? Neve is thinking a long time about b5. Small Droid, your game just ended with Boondock Striker. Okay, I'll fix that, Scott. Thanks. Fixed. Beyond Repute with like games by like Rubinstein and Reti and stuff like that. Nice chess latte. Yeah, those are very instructive games. Wow, bishop takes h3. Oh yeah, because black's so cramped. It's a great chance to get rid of a piece. Nice move by Neve Storth, I guess. Yeah. And white's kind of like all in on this sort of attacking idea. So I think black's going to be in good shape here. Against this Benoni structure as white, I think as white, you want the game to be controlled and slow and safe and simple and let black run out of things to do. Trying to throw some attack at black is like so early is just the wrong idea in my point. I wouldn't do that. Your brother's new and he liked it? That's great. Thanks, Beyond Repute. I'm always happy to hear that. One of the reasons I don't produce more of that kind of content is because I hold myself to like a very high standard. It's exhausting trying to like make everything perfect. You can, Harappa. When you're playing your games, what everybody does is they mute the stream while they're playing so they don't hear my comments on their game in progress. And then whenever you're done playing, you can unmute and keep chatting with us. I will definitely rap for you again soon, please. Promise. Perfect, Harappa. You've got it all figured out. You're like an old dojo pro already. Okay, queen a5. It's unpinning the knight for potential future violence. Seth spots a double attack, but this is going to get funky because he's abandoning this diagonal. So black's got moves like, knight takes d5 here. Pawn takes and check, right? Like, Seth's playing this super, super risky. Who's the real Chess Dojo Live, JR? There's no fight. We got 3 official senseis. That's official. Jesse, Kostya, and me. There's already 3 of us. If we had to fight Scott, it would be 3-on-1. Jesse, Kostya, and I did Harappa. It was founded a year and a half ago as a 3-teacher project. Scott put in the work last night for sure. Here's how good Scott did. He worked for 4 hours with like high effort, not just like, flitting around, trying some tactics, chatting, like 4 hours of work. And the sign that he did so well is this morning he was tired from the work he did yesterday. His head still hurt today from the work he did yesterday. That's the kind of effortful study that will pay off and that you can fall back on someday when you're playing in a tournament and the position's tough and you don't know what to do and your head's hurting. You'll have the strength to push through that. I think the show was just like an impromptu study. I just called him weak? How so? You mean because I said like he got like tired or like hurt by it? Everybody's got a point at which they get tired and hurt. Most people would be like before they got to 4 hours. Saying that somebody can get tired is not an insult. That's just life. That's everybody. Yeah, I was learning about color complexes. It's like weak dark squares or light squares. Sometimes, because of the nature of the bishops that only control one color square, and because pawn chains often get fixed along diagonals, right? Like you see black's got this pawn chain stuck along dark diagonals in the center. Because of that factor, often in chess, one player or another is much stronger on dark squares or light squares. And that leads to a whole area of exploration and so forth. Thomas the Tank Engine. Nicht ich. All right. So Neve Storth sacks a piece on d5, wins it back on c3. Seth doesn't take because he doesn't want to sack the rook in the corner. Although, I mean, this here was a very, very interesting possibility, right? Which would ultimately have failed. But it was interesting. So in the game, in this position, you just moved the king. Now this bishop needs to be saved. It could go to b2 or it could go to e5 if black wants, depending on how black's feeling about tempi and how much this pawn here matters. Ah, sorry, JR. Oh, Wrath of God's asking about the exact line I just gave. I answered your question by accident. A4, B5 when? Good question beyond repeat. Why aren't these moves getting played? Now they'll never get played, right? I mean, an all-out brawl has broken out in the center. Nobody needs space on the queen side anymore. But I'm surprised that for so long white didn't prevent B5 and black didn't play it. He could take the pawn and still go E5, Joey. That's right. And still sort of get that tempo retreating the bishop. The question is, bishop takes B2, the white rook is going to come out to some kind of square, right? So the question is the pawn even worth, bringing white's rook out? Right? So like if you do this, maybe this, I just don't know. I'm just playing a move, right? And then like this, now the rook is out. So it's just a matter of like, did you even want that pawn? What does this do for black versus white? And you see, he didn't. He's just prioritizing. He wants to like bring out the knight and the rooks. All he's caring about right now for black is speeding up some development right now. I apologize either way, JR. But I mean, as you know and recognize, it's really hard to guess tone on chat. Yeah, Neve Storth is looking pretty good, Chesstock. I like Black's position here so far. This rook, sort of out of play. There's a little bit of just sort of general discoordination in white's pieces, right? Where they're not really like working together. They don't have a lot of, I don't know, communication lines or whatever. The king's a little bit awkward. So it's probably a tough position for white at the moment. We'll see where it goes. When you're Stan? Queen E3. Rook's undefended, so F4 is a threat. A stalker fan. I know what you're talking about, Daster. Okay. So he's saying that Neve Storth is basically a stan of Steve North. That's the point, huh? RD born. Trying to get out while ahead. JR seems to at least know Scandinavia a bit. King G1, Rook G2, King H1. That might be, Wrath. That might be. I've only been to Scandinavia once, to Norway, and I loved it. I really loved it. So I sort of secretly suspect I might love Scandinavia from afar, but you can't be confident after one trip. The other day I saw some like news article saying that Finland had ended homelessness by just the government providing housing for anybody who wanted it. I don't know if that's true, but if so, I would be a fan of that. They've even provided saunas for everybody. I guess Hallgilda could say that all I know is that I love Norway. Pumpkin the Cat says no homeless people in Finland. Nice. No less Chate yet, or less Sichtenstein. Whoa, the battle's on. Okay, so Queen e3, Knight d7 had to be played to defend the rook. Also, developing pieces is good. Queen b3 swinging over. Pawn is saved. f4. I mean, everything's very safe for black, but white's going to throw a shot at black anyway here. Because with f4, this rook has been freed, and f5 or g4 can get played. So before white just curls up in a ball and lets black develop all the rooks on the e-file and come checkmate their king, white's going to throw one or two things at black here, I think. I mean, Seth was in an aggressive mood this game. If you look at this kind of like insane h4 move here. And so I fully expect him to at least throw one or two bombs towards the black king, and Neve Storth is going to have to catch them successfully. But Pumpkin, it's probably hard to learn Finnish. Is that true? I've heard that like the Finnish language is not closely related to other languages. I don't know if it's like completely an isolate, but that it's something in that direction. Finnish is insane. Okay. So that would be a problem. I could travel all the way there to not be homeless, but then not be able to speak to anybody. All right. Bishop tucks into a nice normal square. And now let's see what Seth is in the mood for. I think start with g4, probably. Because even though it's like worse shape to your structure and totally ruins your own king, if you play f5, you're giving black this e5 square, which is great. So I would start with g4. Start chipping at this king's pawn structure with g4. Just say like, yeah, well, my king's going to be open too, and hopefully I will calculate better than my opponent. Oh, really? Norwegians would just give me a house too? Niz, the finish on your joke was the best. The way you ended that one, really good. Best joke of the day. An awkward tiny room if I come to Stockholm to visit Daster. Rook takes e2 as the threat. Uppsala. Cool. Uppsala. I've heard of it. But having grown up with a German father, to me, like, oops is like, that's whoops. That's like oops, or, So Uppsala is just like the accident city or something like that. Up is up for you guys. So it's like a city to the north or something. For me, it's just like, whoops, place. Yeah, in English, we could call it Whoopsville. Perfect, Joey. Whoa. Okay, so Seth didn't play the move I expected. Came here. Now Neve Storth lays down a claim to absolutely blockade the light squares. And it's time for bishop takes h5. You got to do something or you're going to lose, my friend. Your bishop is trapped. You're down a pawn. The opponent's going to double rooks on the e file at some point. Only a matter of time. The thing about rook g3 is an extra planning move black might prevent what you want to do. I feel like you just need to give a sack. Just give a sack while you can. Takes, takes, boom. Hitting the knight. Right? Maybe knight f8 is the best defense. And then, yeah, probably now you bring the rook. And now you kind of pray, but at least black's concerned, right? Like something could go wrong for black here. It could. So if rook g3, what is the preventing move for black, right? That's a good question. So it's a threat here and here. So we would want to defend one of those squares, like rook f8 or rook e4, probably. This is probably the best, right? Because the plan is to double rooks. King f7 might even make things worse. I don't know. Probably it probably doesn't help a ton though. Right? Because white takes and check. Looks scary. But rook e4, right? Rook g3, rook e4, and white's lost pretty much. Oh, you're going to sack anyway because you're not even dependent on queen f5 anymore. I forgot what you were doing. Sorry. Let's take this more seriously. Here. 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 Oopsala. Bishop c3 at the end. Nice, Wrath of Gods. Okay, let's just go see the live position, folks. King g1, c4, rook g3. The sack did come. The knight came in and blocked things up and attacked this. It's time to sack the rook. Bishop takes, knight takes rook. Oh, you can't go queen f5. He tries it anyway. Seth finally throws something at black. Hey, Chess and Chai. Black's up a knight. 20 seconds each. I don't really see anything for white here. Hey, Demon. Ooh. Queen finds a spot. Well, I mean, she could have just centralized. She didn't need to give check. I don't know, chess stock. Okay. There's a threat here. So at least Seth's making a threat now. That's a good sign. You need to at least, you know, make the opponent sweat if you want them to lose on time. They have to be a little bit worried. Uh-oh, that check looks brutal. That check looks brutal. And it's mate. Check, check, mate. Pravid comes through. Oh, sorry. Neve Storth comes through. I was just starting to assume that it is Pravid. Let's see how long ago this Neve Storth account was made, right? Created September 5th, yesterday, I think. Whew. Yeah. Your Stan will win the tournament for you, Steve North. All right. We still got some games from round 2 in the 1700 plus section. Knight D3 from Sean the Prawn. This looks pretty tense. Looks like materials equal at the moment. I wonder if there's Rook D8. Otherwise, oh, there's Bishop H7 then. So Rosenberg might be winning a pawn here. Still going to be an interesting position that remains, but this time he's got 4 minutes against 1. So he's more in control of his fate on the clock here. A little bit more work here. That is correct, Niz. They will think that. Okay, C3 pawn looking very weak. Sean the Prawn still with fair chances to hold on to this one, I think. Far from lost just yet, as long as that C pawn is so bad. Is that in the classical tournament, Demon? Hopefully, make sure you let the appropriate tournament director know if you're changing your buys. All right, round starting for everybody in the 1300 to 1700 section. Your round has started. Sad Cat versus Joel. Neve versus Harappa. Johannes and Seth. Clark and Polly. Nice. Felipe and Daryl. And Joey and the Mad Bishop. With a sort of semi-Tarrasch. Very nice. Check out under 1300. Round 3. The Weary Blues against Boondog's Striker. And Rook against 4 pawns. It's pretty unusual and interesting. I don't know either, Steve North. I think one may have been created by Costi or Scott, but I don't know for sure. Oh, Mubot knows. There you go, folks. There's the info. Knight f4 would be a really big move. White now has limited time to launch a counterattack. Ooh, there's a tough move to answer. Nice defense by the Weary Blues. And quickly. All right, thanks, Steve. Hopefully we can investigate that. Right, Keysien? You got to stop that knight f4 move, right? This is a great Great resource. And Weary found it in 10 seconds. Okay. Cheers, Maestro. See you next time. Boondock Striker might be forced to retreat the knight to defend the rook. And that's where the knight came from, I'm pretty sure, right? Headed to f4. It might be forced to just head back. Which would completely stop black's attack for the moment. Give white more time to, maybe advance these pawns. I think that's the goal for white, is you want to, like, at some point advance these pawns. So that black doesn't have, 30 moves to find a way to attack your king with their extra piece. You eventually need to get these things going. Now, rook takes g2 is probably a threat, so I would start with g4. So does the Weary Blues. I really doubt knight f4 was winning hose pud, but it might have been. Rosenberg and Sean the Prawn. Sean the Prawn held that draw against a national master. Down a pawn, but with a good position. Uh-oh. Here it was looking really iffy. Really iffy. Oh, this should be lost now. Those are self-propelled pawns. Self-propelled pawns. Here they come. Uh-oh. They were too slow. Wow. This was great by Sean to check the white king away from the passed pawn, and then he goes for it. And here, instead of pushing, he needed to see that he was too slow. I mean, he had a few minutes, and he has to try, like, rook e7 first. Right? Activate the rook, and then work on these pawns. Man. Okay, happy Labor Day, Rosenberg. Thanks for joining us. All right, g4, rook to e8, tucking it in safely. So now this king is nicely tucked in, but white's going to push these pawns, and black actually has a burden on them to create a winning attack here. You can't just sit here for black. Here comes the Weary Blues, right? We've got to find a way to untangle these pieces in a way that tries to checkmate this king. That's how it's got to be. All right, defending against rook takes f3 by freeing up the bishop. Rook here to here, maybe? He's got to find some other angle. Rook here, queen h8 check. Very bad idea, David. Very bad idea. Just grabs the a pawn. Okay, that's the cue to advance another step, right? Strong move. Very strong move. I mean, I don't know how Weary Blue sacked a rook earlier this game, but in the phase of the game that we've been watching, Weary Blues has been playing fantastically. Really great defense of the king, balanced with advancing their plan. Because if you just defend your king, or do nothing but defend your king, eventually your opponent's going to find a way to win. That's what I'm promising you. Eventually, the black pieces are going to find this king. There's an extra rook. That's enough to eventually checkmate, like every time. So you need to be putting this clock on black. So they've got a certain amount of time to figure out the checkmate, and then it's gone. And this queen here, this is excellent defense, covering these weak dark squares while your bishop and pawns are covering light squares. Right? It creates like areas that black can't get through now. See all these squares controlled by white? Whereas when the queen was on h7, just one move before, right here, look at all the squares that black can actually just get through. Makes it much easier to attack. White was basically monochromatic here. They only controlled light squares, almost no dark squares. So this was super strong, this queen taking that long diagonal. Bishop blocks is fine, trying to keep this file from getting too open. It's supported, king can come up. And black's running out of time here. Running out of time. Oh, and throws queen a1, and it doesn't work. The Weary Blues with the comeback win. I got to say, well deserved. That was some of the best defense we've seen in a while, and in the under 1300 section. Take back, no takebacks. White covered everything and frustrated black, who couldn't find the checkmate, and now white wins. That's how it goes. If you don't win, your opponent will. Boom. Take it away, Weary Blues. Boondock's a strong player. We saw Boondock play a little bit earlier. Looking very strong. All right, what other game do I want to follow? A sad cat. That sounds fun to me. Why does sad sound fun to me? I don't know. Anyway, here we are. I picked this randomly. Actually, I could just like click on all the positions and pick my favorite, couldn't I? And Joel is thrashing the cat, so let me pick a different position. This is still early to say. This is, whoa, a confusing endgame-like situation. Intense. Suspicion that black's winning. Knight, queen, bishop, bishop. Black seems to have sacked a piece here. Neve Storth has sacked a piece here against Harappa. And now threatening some checkmates. Every game you play, you're in the opponent's prep and out of mine. And just give up on openings and play the hippo. At some point in their life, almost every chess player has had a feeling like that, where they're like, I'm just not getting the openings that I wanted or planned. So let me just do something completely random and atheoretical, because I'm just tired of this opening prep of my opponents. And some people react with the hippo, other people with sort of weird unsound openings, depending. Yeah. And there's the mate. This and this, there's no way to cover both of them. That's just a real cruncher of an attack. So out of a Rui Lopez, where black gave up the center and marshaled their pieces, but white's pieces have more space and more maneuverability behind the pawn center. He just goes to threaten this move. If king h7, there's bishop takes f7. He just threatens it from afar and then comes in. And now this is coming, and there's no knight f5 yet because the pawn is here. Brutal. That's a brutal one. All right, let's check out some more games. In progress, under 1300. Round 4 has started. Okay, and the standings here, we've got one player with 3 out of 3, the Weary Blues. Oh, and their rating is over 1300 already. So they were 1000 last game, so it means this is a new account. Only 2 games played, both of them victories. In Bullet, 2200. Wow. Brutal. All right, so they're in the wrong section, but their rating will catch up quickly, and they'll be in the right section in a week or two. I guess we could say good luck to I Love Bobby, now that we know that their opponent is secretly like a near master strength player here in this section. First issue of the game to deal with for I Love Bobby is the bishop and knight right here. But let's check out Becker and Sinfonisia today. They've got a wild opening going already. Okay, let's see it. So this is the Scandinavian defense with an early b4 pawn sack. It's interesting. All right, good night, Harappa. Hope you enjoyed the games. Click the X on your way out to withdraw so you don't get paired for round 4, if you would. So that nobody gets stuck sitting there in round 4. There should be a little X to get out of the tournament. A withdraw button. If you can find that, then wow, you've learned a lot in just one day here. And we appreciate you so much. Hope to have you back. Okay, rook b1, queen d6. White's got some good development and throws a quick knight c7 threat at black. Wow. Bishop e2. Oh, that's a bad pawn to grab, Sinfonisia. Yeah, you can't go for that kind of thing. Honestly, the best thing you can do in a situation like this, folks, when your queen's getting attacked, is just tuck her away again. You know, like you grab that pawn, that B pawn. Now the best you can do is like get back and try and like defend any threats that come in. Okay, so in the game, black went for this A pawn, check here, and now the tricky move, rook b2. If white took this rook, black could get this rook. So black's like calculated something, right? But the thing is, ideally your instincts tell you that even though you've calculated some fancy way by which you might get a rook trade, like it's just not likely to work. You've got no pieces out. You're leaving this open and just trying to fight with just your queen. It's very, very low probability of success. A. Becker finds the refutation. Takes that piece. Maybe bishop f3 to support this knight against this move. Rook b5 is played. Okay, here. Takes. Okay, so you're just grabbing 2 pawns for the knight. Well, Lord Peep, you can figure something out. It's probably not the hippo every game. But you'll find something. There is a path for everyone. Rook b2 for the second time already this game. An unusual move to see so frequently. And honestly, this rook's moved like 5 times already this game, which is very, very rare for someone to move their rook a lot in the opening. The hippo's all right. It is. It's not terrible. But it's a little limiting to only play the hippo. You'll you know, you would probably get bored or disinterested of the hippo at some point and want to do some other things too. Maybe on chess.com, Demon. Maybe 2,400 feet, Spaghetti? There are very few openings that you'll get punished for before like 23 or 2,400 feet, But depending on what your aspirations are in chess, I would say that never getting used to the Ruy Lopez or Italian, never getting comfortable in them is going to hold you back. So you're not going to lose games because you're playing the Vienna, but you will lose games because you don't know ideas from the Italian or the Ruy. Does that make sense? It depends, as I said, on your aspirations and what you enjoy, etc., right? Not everybody needs to learn everything about chess nor wants to learn everything about chess. Some people really love variety. Some people really love comfort. Some people, it's more of a mix. Some people want to, branch out every now and then, but not all the time. Are you done, Boondock Striker? Did you play your 4th round game here? I got this check winning the queen with the discovered attack on the D file. And that was round 4 for you, I believe. 3 out of 4. Great tournament, Boondock. Hope you enjoyed it. I mean, it's not the only way to get more points, Keezy. Well, I don't know if you're Keezy Enraged or Keys Yen Raged, but maybe Enraged. So, Keezy, it's not the only way to get more points. You could get more points by studying the endgame, right? You could get more points by practicing. You get more points by working on your calculation. There's all kinds of different places to get better. How's A. Becker doing? Is A. Becker untangling these pieces? White was struggling a little bit with the most efficient way to develop. You guys saw this maybe, right? Like bishop f3, queen here instead of simple knight out. Then queen goes back in to defend this. Finally, he does bring the knight out, and just in time to defend this bishop here. Gets that bishop out, and probably getting castled. Looks like White's finally figuring it all out. Bishop takes g7 is a threat. Black might have to trade queens, and Becker's looking good right now. There is nothing wrong with c4. The English is a great opening, yeah. So, okay, so black chooses to keep queens on the board to keep the game messier, but it's going to cost some material right here. Yeah, we watched that game, Boondock. You could check the VOD later to see what we saw in your third round game. It was very interesting. Your opponent put up really tough defense at some key points. There we go. Best move from Symphonicia. The rook's trapped. By far the best move, bishop e5. So that if white takes it, you can recapture. That's a really good sign for Symphonicia that they can find key defensive resources in tough positions. Whether or not they win this game, like having that kind of skill to stop and think like they did there and then find that move, it's a very, very good sign for where Symphonicia is headed. Okay, let's check out. Well, we have to maybe go back and forth between these two games, but I'd like to see a little bit. A game from Anik Biswaz, our guitar doctor, I believe. New recruit. So Baron throws f4 at black. Black wants the knight there. Black also wants to check. What is this disaster for white going on here? Knight h5, rook g1, e5. Just taking him apart, and he retreats and gives it up for nothing. At least you got to play, your knight to an aggressive square when something like this happens. Bishop here. He can't castle. He's losing control of these squares, and he just sacks that pawn too. This is brutal. This is brutal. Anik is really smashing this game so far. Yeah, knight into the middle looks good. But playing those tough people also made the player at your own rating feel like easy mode, right, Michiko? After your previous couple games there. Well, Baron won his previous game, Wrath of God, so I don't know how much it did or didn't get to him, but this game here was a fine game. So, I Love Bobby is playing a great game with the Weary Blues. Wow. How exciting. Feels like about an equal position, but where were we? There, I found our game. Becker and Symphonicia. So, Queen A1. Oh, Becker! Oh, Becker! Ay, ay, ay. That's the second time, right? That's the second time. Today. Ouch. I mean, I will say this, like, it was just Becker was very, very slow and awkward about developing the pieces this whole time. Even though black was wandering around with the queen and it was like open season for white to get a development lead, you can see like Becker really struggled with how to get the pieces out efficiently, you know, never moved like this center pawn to take over the center and block this bishop, right? To make space for the queen, like moved the queen back and forth, the rook back and forth. It really, the cleanest developing moves were not just like popping into Becker's head. So that's just an area that Becker needs to work on a little bit, is just how to develop smoothly, you know, how to see what are like the good squares for the pieces, what's the best order for bringing them out. Yeah. And now it's 2 rooks against 2 pieces and a queen. So that's tough. We got an exciting endgame here. The Weary Blues with 14 out of 15 minutes left. Still kind of playing this game a bit like Bullet. I Love Bobby maybe trying to transition into an outside pass pawn here, like to maybe play for an advantage for black. Yeah, I think that might even be a good idea. Because also it suits Fang. After h5, this knight can't move because of the bishop. The bishop can't move because of the king. So the king's going to have to move, which means a retreat, which means this king's going to come to f5. You're not pathetic, Zero. You're one of our champions here today. You're one of our champions. Listen to Niz. And to your opponent. Huge props to you for coming out and playing today against higher rated players. You're a champ. Now I think I would creep my rook to a3. I don't know what Bobby will be in the mood for, but that appeals to me. I suppose you also have to consider like rook g4 forcing the king to the h file, and then king e4 in the center trying to get this pawn going. There's options. There's options, yeah. h4 check is not a good option because white can take it with the knight and it's check. But rook a3 and rook g4 are both interesting. King e4 might be playable too, not yet like deciding what you're doing. No, rook a3 is good. Rook a3 is good the more I look at it. Okay, so the only option is like bishop here to here. White tries something else. I think king f4 is probably good. King e4 maybe too. King g4 knight e5 isn't very good, but king e4 and king f4 both look pretty strong. Yeah, rook a3, king e4 makes sense. That's right, Wrath. It feels like, to me also, like the best defense after rook a3 was probably bishop d4 to then e3 and start trying to block d4 and mitigate the pressure from this direction so the king doesn't have to fall back. Now the king falls back. I Love Bobby finds king e4, kicks the knight, and is threatening to gain control of this blockade square of the pawn, which is could be a big problem for white if that d pawn manages to move a little bit forward. Who's going to win the Olympiad? You know, Siddhartha, the only person who knows who's going to win the Olympiad is the FIDE president. Because the way the Olympiad works is that the FIDE president just decides at the end who the champion is. So you would have to ask Dvorkovich who he's planning to name as the Olympiad champions this year. Yeah, the white player has like a 2200 blitz or bullet rating Daster. So the white player here is a very strong player, but in trouble at the moment. I don't think white's like a titled player master, but white's a very, very strong player. Is there a chance to hold with knight h4 just starting to sack pieces to try and eliminate the opponent's pawns? Yes. Even this provides white some fair chances to draw. I don't know that here I would be desperate enough for white to do that, but it is an option, yeah. Well, it depends what the other options are, right?
Thanks for the tournament. Sorry my 15 seconds of fame included that. LOL.
You wished for 15 seconds of fame, and we watched you play Queen A1, right? How fitting for all those old fables about getting what you wished for, or being very careful what you wish for. King G3, H4 looks sus. Yeah, King G3, Rook F3 is also problematic. I think Knight D2 is another option here. I don't see Seth's board as being live right now. This seems to be the only game going in Seth's section right now. Norvik. Becker, my commentary vision doesn't always extend to OTB tournaments, sadly. It was too good. Nice, Norvik. Nice, Seth. I'm sorry I missed it, Becker, but bring us the game for a post-mortem show sometime soon, huh? Blarg McBlarg. Blarg McBlarg must have been the one to just collect that queen on A1 last game. You know, Daster, I did see you once playing a game against Halgilda. I tuned into your stream. You were playing Halgilda, and you made some huge blunder when I was watching, and then Halgilda was winning. And I left before you could resign. Are you sure it was brilliant? Oh, host pun talking about the a6 idea. If black took it, then they'd have only a pawns and might not be able to win. But on a6, black can play b5 to win. And now Mad Bishop cleaning this one up. Let's go back to our feature here. Let's see what's happening. King e4, knight h4 was played. d4 check. Here, here, here. King here. So see white's grabbing this pawn and hoping to still fight this. Worst case, they can maybe still sack a piece for it later, right? Like here, white could play knight f4, d3 and keep a bishop instead of a knight. But white's confident they can actually cover this pawn with the king here. Black can draw after king e2 with rook takes f3. King takes, rook takes bishop, pawn takes, king e6. That could be a draw. That's one option. So that's an idea. Oh, man. That's exciting, Becker. And Bobby ran out of time. Wow, probably still in a drawn position. Let me just show you the line that I would have in mind as black here. You could play rook d3 or rook f3. If you go rook d3, white can go check and take it. So that's not a good tactic. If you go rook f3, the king can't take because of queening, and you're cutting off knight f4. And if here, I want to just take, here. Get this game over with, you know? White can't save this pawn, and that's a draw. So I think I Love Bobby was just in range of being able to draw against this extremely powerful opponent, the Weary Blues. But the Weary Blues still collects the under 1300 tournament win. Obviously, they're not an under 1300 player, and they will now be, you know, 1500 basically, and perhaps 1800 by next week. So onwards, Baron and Anik Biswaz. Baron's still sort of in this game with a rook and two pawns against a queen. Second time having a rook against queen kind of situation. what you want to do is get the second rook into the game here. You really want to, like, try and throw a tactic or two at the opponent. All right, he tries. He tries. Gets checked for his troubles. Well, he could get checked a bunch of times for his troubles. Maybe bring the king to g2 here to stop queen h3. Because wherever else you go, you definitely getting chased and stuff. Hosepud, Weary Blues is just somebody who hadn't played Rapid before. So in Blitz and Bullet, they've got ratings of like, 2200 or 2100 and stuff like that. But in Rapid, they just hadn't played before. All right, queen e4, winning either the knight or, if the knight retreats, the rook. Baron down. And for the 1700 plus, that's going to bring up round 4. And for the 13 to 1700 section, we're also getting into round 4. Neve Storth is on top board against Joel. Seth on board 2 against the Sad Cat. There we go, folks. We're into the last round. Yeah, Dr. Geek, you played a crushing game that round against a strong opponent. He kind of, yeah, I mean, he didn't know that e5, d4 idea. Kind of fell apart there. But you did know it, so. No, Spaghetti. Steve North is also playing here. So Neve Storth is somebody making a joke about his name or something. Perhaps a fan of his. Yeah, that's fine. Chess numbers. Okay. A slightly unusual d4 opening here from Joey. Let's have a look. Threatening e5. Oh, no, allowing e5. Well, that's what makes it such an unusual opening. Joey paying a huge price for occupying the center with pieces instead of pawns, folks, right? By Anish Giri. Are you a fan of his, Dr. Geektarist? Do you like Anish? Yeah, this is not a very good opening for white right here. At least you have to support this pawn with a pawn here, right? To recapture in the center and keep some kind of a central post. Yeah, Johnny Cole, I think he means that he was inspired to play it by Anish. Not that the whole opening was inspired by Anish. Yeah. And I mean, I'm like a lifetime Najdorf player, and I don't even know for sure if the Najdorf was first invented by Miguel Najdorf or if like other people played it and Najdorf kind of like put it together in a more comprehensive, strategical way. I'm not even sure. I don't even know if the opening is like completely the work of Najdorf. Most great openings are the works of like many people, like, and they'll end up getting named after somebody, but like other people will have put work into it as well. Or it'll be like a strong player who plays something that a weak player, 20 years before had played, but the strong player, figures out why it's actually good. And then people sometimes say, well, they're not the first person to play it. They're the first person to understand it or show why it's good, etc. So certainly Najdorf is somebody who gets a lot of credit for the opening, but there were probably other contributors. Anyway, this is not an opening here. This is what happens if you don't have any pawns in the center sometimes. Let us pop over to another board. Sometimes I look at the top board in the last round So let me see which board that is. That's Joel and Neve. White won by resignation? Knight e4? What? Should be called the Oposhensky. Yeah. Okay. Interesting. What on earth was this move? A mouse slip. Where was the knight going if not to e4? There goes the top board. Congratulations to Joel Dick on winning their first perfect tournament here. And let's go to board 2 then, shall we? Liechtenstein versus the Sad Cat. Oh, I know this position probably. A stalemate should be a win, Daster. But the Skiensis is right that in general, if you just disagree with Nigel on everything, you're gonna nearly always be right. Yeah. I was able to read your whole conversation, Joel. No, I seriously think that, host bud. I mean, you've trapped their king. If they have to move, they would have to move somewhere where you captured them. I would just call it like a really good Zugzwang. But I don't have like a very strong opinion about it either, host bud. Like, it's a controversial idea or topic, but it's not like it's not a topic that I hold particularly dear myself. Like, I don't really care that much, which it is, right? I don't think it's a big deal. I think the important thing for pro play is for them to play chess 960. Okay, a5 from the Sad Cat. I don't think the stalemate rule is particularly important, but I would be happy to try stalemate being a win for a while and see what it does. I don't think I saw the other game, Joel. No, sorry. Okay, so as white, you don't want to trade on a5. That leaves the a-pawn weak and lets this bishop out. If you push past, you can leave your dark squares weaker, but at least you're working on the weakness on c6. My instinct would be that you want to play b5 here. Beyond repute, I just think that like professional players should play chess 960 in their tournaments mostly. Like, some people try and solve the draw problem with anti-draw rules. Some people try and solve it with faster time control so you make more mistakes. And I would solve it by eliminating opening theory and playing chess 960. You'll also get more mistakes, but you still play like, you know, a 6-hour game. But since you won't be able to just play moves that you've memorized and you have to come up with moves on your own over the board, it'll take more time, more effort, and there will be more mistakes. So you'll get like a much higher winning percentage and lower drawing percentage. I think for club players, if they like playing old chess, it's fine for them to play old chess. I wouldn't force them to play chess 960. I would say basically people should play chess 960 once they reach a point where, you know, they're starting to memorize opening theory and it's kind of lame and boring. So, no, I'm not. 23 minutes. 23. 23. Knight b5. A fancy move, but... But I don't like it, Joel. It just means like in the opening they're playing like they're not actually thinking about their moves, and there's no possibilities of like mistakes other than like, you know, one player gets caught in something they don't know as well and the other player knows everything and then they beat them, but they never had to think about their own moves. Lame. Other times and then just like bad blunders later on in the game. There's nothing I enjoy about that either. So it's common to draw without playing or to not even show up. An incentive against that would be pretty nice too. Yeah, well, unfortunately, you know, you live in a capitalist society in Greece, so your chess community as well as others will be riddled with cheats. That's just the culture. There's nothing you can do about that with chess rules, right? You just need a society that isn't selfish and that doesn't reward cheaters ahead of non-cheaters at every turn and at every pass and at every step of the road. That's your only real solution to that. Okay, so knight b5 was a tricky tactic, right? Because this bishop was undefended, but it's also a pointless move that just bounces off black's solid pawn structure. Black just adjusts the bishop and the knight retreats. Nothing gained. And black actually has the chance to now trade, which they should, and they play a4, an incomprehensible move. Just leaves this pawn weak, and black's whole queenside weakened, actually. Like, now black would be better off if they'd never touched the a pawn. So although Seth wasted his time and achieved nothing, black has achieved a detriment to their own position. Therefore, Seth is winning the battle just by doing nothing for now. How do you change society to make people less likely to cheat? I mean, you have to have a society with, you know, morals and values, and where people with morals and values, I mean, they don't necessarily have to be like rewarded more than other people, but at least that they don't get like, that the cheaters don't get everything and don't get away with everything, etc. Okay, b5. So now Seth is trying to tackle this structure. All right. That's a good move from Seth. It might be nice for him to also castle at some point, so the second rook is coordinated, but you'll see that black is struggling a little bit with coordination as well. So it's probably good to get in this move and create a weakness. Otherwise, black could play b5, defending the a-pawn, and then knight b6 to c4 to stop the c-file pressure. That's sort of like black's threat, is b5, knight b6, c4. So Seth prevents that. And now the d5 pawn is his for the taking. He could trade first and then take it, or he could just take it right away. What seems right to you all? My instinct is to take first, just like Seth did. But that might be wrong, because it's based on like structuralism, right? Like, I don't like the isolated pawn. But actually, now that I think about it, the isolated pawn is kind of killing this knight. This knight's covering its other squares. So you might actually leave this d7 knight dead, and like, so what if one of your pawns is bad? You're up a pawn, you're castling, black's pieces are all terrible, like. You're threatening mate in one. Black's position is so discoordinated. So I don't know what the right answer is about taking or not taking. In any case, Seth is taken. Now you guys see how it might be okay to leave the bad pawn, just as like a counter argument to my structural instinct. Now knight d5 is going to come in. This is threatened. There's rook c8 behind it. Knight b3 does not look good against rook c8. Black probably didn't have any great move, but bishop d6 would have been the best. Oh, perhaps it was a move, Scott, back when the bishop was hanging in, even here, yeah. You guys want to see for a second? So a5 was played. Could Seth have just played this move? Perhaps. It's a little bit tricky because there's some weird stuff, right? But I think it should definitely work out for white after a move or two here. So yeah, so knight d5 could have been a good move here, as well as my sort of simple structural suggestion. And then, yeah, in these positions, you can still play knight d5 because there's rook c8. So it could have still been a good move, even without these trades. And now Seth is up a rook, and I would say, yeah, black could resign here in good conscience. Knight b6 is even threatened. There's not any particularly good defenses against that either. Yeah, thanks, guys. I do want to bring Rivals back. I know I didn't mention it on the recent Dojo talks about what we're going to do next, which tells you that it's my third priority instead of my first or second. So which maybe it shouldn't be, but I love Rivals. I definitely want to bring it back. I want to bring everything back, but we'll have to see. First, the kids have to spend a day or two in school, and we'll see how that goes. Then we can start getting really ambitious. My first level plan, I got the tournament going again, so you guys have a chance to play and practice. And Kosti and I are in agreement to get the second season of Ultimate Sensei going as a priority, as a flagship program. So, okay, point for Seth. Let's check another game here. Let me just see what position tickles me. Whoa. This one for sure. I don't even need to look at the others. Okay. So last move. So white got the pawn to f6, which looks more or less winning. Black counterattacks white's queen. White takes here. Here. White's just up a piece at the end. Or two pieces. It was fancy, but it was actually white was just winning and winning and winning. And even this loses another piece for black compared to just recapturing on e7. Like this, right? Black's attempts to play these tactical moves, they just leave him down. Too much material. White's got two extra pieces. Black resigns. GG's. And Polly finishes with 3 out of 4. Very good. Second place in the tournament, as well as Seth, who we just saw finish, and Neve Storth, who was only stopped by a mouse slip in round 4. Opfashach thinks nothing is better than the Rivals show. Okay. Who has both watched Dojo Rivals and watched Ultimate Sensei and has a preference between them? I don't want votes from someone who's only seen one or the other. But if you've seen Dojo Rivals and you've seen Ultimate Sensei, which one do you prefer? I mean, obviously, I'm going to try and do both, but right. I mean, we're talking the difference between my number 1 priority and number 3 priority or something like that. It's not like these aren't both on my list, but yeah, looks like if it came down to just those two shows, most of the votes are going for Ultimate Sensei, yeah. Cool. Well, we're largely on the same page, guys. I think Rivals is absolutely awesome. I think that can definitely be one of our, top 5 shows, except I'm always going to scramble up our shows. I'm not just going to sit on the same thing for 10 years because there's too many different things I like to try. Um, but fair enough, Hope. If you've seen even one episode of each year, you're being invited to cast your vote. So no, season 1 of the Gauntlet will continue. There was a little break here in August. I was in Hawaii with some health issues on top of it. So whoa, Neve Storth following us. So it's not just Praven Duis? Coach +1 versus Coach +1, Bughouse. Yeah. So yeah, the Gauntlet will resume again in a couple weeks too. But I prioritized the Gauntlet at first in Hawaii, even though I could barely do anything because I'd signed up a bunch of like contestants in advance. And also because it's like shorter than a whole tournament like we're doing right now. But now that I'm back, I think like hosting regular tournaments for you guys and Ultimate Sensei are my two top priorities as far as like the content I want to put on the channel. And then after that, Rivals and Gauntlet, yes. But if it takes me a week or two to make sure that we get Ultimate Sensei up and running, I think that's a priority over everything else. So I'm going to do that. And then, we'll try and get everything going again. Okay, so what's going on in this game, by the way, between Daryl and Johannes? Johannes tries to pick a pawn. And the pieces are equal, but black is up 2 pawns. White's a little bit better developed, if you see this. And white has the bishop pair, yet black seems overall so solid. White would basically have to be cracking the d5 square already with like bishop here and doubled rooks or something to still have a good position. So I'm going to say that black must be significantly better here. Close to winning, probably. Daryl in deep thought, how to turn the tide of this game, how to keep something going for white here. Bishop e2 to f3 or g3 bishop g2. This is the weakest spot in black's camp. It's not like super weak, but it's like the best chance for white. It's on a light square. The bishop's unopposed. If you could break this square, your bishop could get even stronger. So that's got to be the focus here. I suppose he could be looking at bishop g5 as well, just seeing if that distracts black or breaks their coordination in some way. It could be worth playing bishop g5 too. Yeah, that's possible. That's possible. The bishop g5 could get played, but I think it's between that and g3 bishop g2. Bishop g5. Black could even play bishop f6. Yeah. A4 occurred to me as a playable move, but I don't think it's a real problem for black. Black could take, black could push, black could leave it. I think this is not the most helpful for black. So I mean for white. So maybe now for black I would play rook e8, just developing the last rook, looking to trade off some material here. Yeah. Thanks to those of you who've seen both shows for giving me your honest opinions about the priority. Coming down to the end here, should we check one or two other positions? We've got an endgame battle here between Double Check and Sean the Prawn. Oh, it's not a battle anymore. White's just winning. Oh, it's the pair of pawns. Very nice. Coming down. Okay. It's simpler to put the bishop on a defended square here than on d5, but yeah, fine either way. I guess this covered this pawn. Makes sense. Okay, and then we've got Renek and Baron. Whew! And that's a battle. Now that's a battle. Honestly, that's the most exciting position. We've got a knight against a couple pawns. Both kings a little bit loose. Messy. How did this go? So Baron was afraid of getting smushed by e5 and made a proactive sack. Yeah, Baron had a bad position here. So he tries a tactic, which is going to give him plenty of chances. Collects 3 entire central pawns for that piece sack. But he was down a pawn to start, huh? So yeah, he was in really bad shape. And the good thing for him is Renek's only got 1 minute, and the position is still highly difficult. You don't have to be honest, Aster, but that, I mean, if you're not honest, then what you say has no value. So always double check. Just finished that game against Sean the Prawn. Where is it? Where did it go? There it is. So the bishop just came and anchored the pawn on a2. And the king and rook pick a target. They focus on it. Once they take it, then you focus on the passed pawn. And it's a clean way to win. Sean the Prawn's a very strong player. So good job. Double check on this game for sure. It must have been Seth, yeah. All right, so let's check out what's going on with Renek again right here. King g7 from Baron. Rook e1 strongly suggests itself. Maybe Baron was worried about rook h3 and was preparing to defend h7. But I think just this rook into the center, take out e7 is going to be too strong. Oh, no. They're both looking over here. Okay, fair enough. Rook e1 just looks so crushing to me. Okay, h5. Wild. I'd still go rook e1. $30. Oh, that feels a little flimsy. If the idea is to threaten like queen 8, h5 at some point, there's queen g3. Maybe he just wants to trade and take here. Yeah, that might be good enough to be winning. But it does cut the queen off from defending like some of these dark squares around the king. It's like a little bit shaky for a rapid game. Brennan still maintaining the structure, still maintaining the 2 extra pawns. Trading off a rook is great for them. Second rook could come out at some point here. Or maybe you just go for queen a1 to just try and take queens off the board. There's no like pressing need to do it, but yeah, I mean, developing the rook with tempo. Why ever not? Right? Now queen a1. Now h5. Just c3. Completely ignoring this rook e8 thing. After takes, bishop f8, bishop h6. He used to have queen a1 mate, but now he actually doesn't. On bishop h6, I guess queen d6 would hold. So now this pawn is in danger. I think he needs like the mate threat here to stop white from taking it. Or you could play c2, right? Bishop takes queen and then queens. Yeah, so c2 is probably the best move. That's the move. Use your mate threat to queen a pawn, not to just keep moving this one. c2. c2 will win the game instantly. We beat Anna's team. We won the sub battle. Let's go, Dojo. You guys are winning sometimes. That's amazing. And we're only getting better. We'll win more in the future. Johannes spending the time on this move, which is an important move. So he does have enough time to find c2, but doesn't find it. So that's something to go back and work on, Johannes. You know, what I would do is I would take like this game and I would go to this position and ask myself, like, what did I think about before playing queen f5? What did I consider? Why didn't I think of c2? Or if I thought of c2, why didn't I play it, right? Yeah, third win. I mean, we're not crushing the thing, Thor, but we're getting some points, right? We're getting some points. We're not just getting wiped out. I don't know if you've been around since a year ago, but at first when we started doing some sub battles not structured in any league or anything like that, we lost like every single sub battle we played, every single match, every single thing we did, we lost for a while. So, so getting any points is a pretty good feeling for me. Yeah, we were just the worst of the worst. Now bishop b4 is a threat. And I'm worried that Johannes is looking a little shaky in this part of the game, even though he's got time on the clock. Yeah, another blunder. Just completely overlooking what White's moves might be. Finds a good move, though. White should have played king g3 and not even taken that. Wow. Right? I mean, just king g3. You're just mating. Just ignore this. This is like a huge moment here. Wow. Gets that piece. Now black's up a piece. Oh, we have a board too who you don't think was really a dojo or a pumpkin? Oh, that's lame. We don't want people playing out of hate. We just want, our students to be, studying and preparing and getting better and having fun. Let's see if he shows up again. Fair enough. Okay, and in our other game, which is wilder, rook g3, queen f6, rook g5, not trading queens. Because honestly, this knight is not that good in an endgame against pawns, right? Although, I mean, white could probably win by trading queens and playing rook b7, getting rid of some of those pawns. But, okay, he says, like, I'm all about checkmate here somehow. King can't take because of rook f1. Can white just take on g4? Probably. But took on h5. Congratulations to Joel and Neve and Polly and Seth. And a straight-up checkmate from Renek. Smack, smack, smack. All checks, checkmate. And at the same time the other game has ended, Johannes eventually converted this A pawn. But very lucky. I think that Johannes was even losing that endgame at some point with queen h1 check. If white had played king g3, it looked like he was even losing, right? I mean, do we want to like look for 1 second before we bid each other adieu and ask ourselves what really was going on if white played king g3 here? Probably tie breaks, Joel. Probably like the combined score of your opponents or something like that, or the combined score of your opponents not counting your lowest opponent or something like that. So mate in 1 is the threat. So the black king could run, or black could play a check. Bishop d6 is illegal. Queen h2 you take. Queen g2 you take. I think black's just dead here, right? And king here, you can go check here. And worst case scenario, you can now win this pawn and you're up a piece, right? You could go queen h8 check, king here, here. And black can resign. No h6. I don't think h6. Oh, I see. You're trying to tuck the king here. Good idea, Daster. Sorry, it took me a long time to follow/figure it out. Dishonoring the name of Steve North. That mouse slip kept us from getting an epic game, Nievesdorf. We were all sad to see that, I think, including Joel. But otherwise, you know, as long as you came and played with us, we're always happy to have people to play with. Okay, and the alternative would be here to try and get this space for the king. And then basically he'll still get mated here probably. Oh, here. Yeah. So I think, honestly, it got so bad that that black was just checkmated at this point in the in this battle. Just really not taking into account of white's resources, like bishop e5 taking the first c-pawn that could have queened, then bishop e1 blocking the back rank mate, and the bishop coming back out to b4 starting a mating attack. So with those 2 extra minutes, Johannes needs to be a little bit more careful of what black's threats can be there. All right. Sorry to hear that, Ursus, but you'll be back in shape soon enough. We'll be doing these often. Yeah, Sean, queen h1 was played in the game, and if white plays king g3... you are Johannes. Okay, Ursus. So this is my advice for you. Looking a little bit more at what the opponent's options were with those 2 minutes you had as you're trying to finish this game. And then here, Sean, we couldn't find anything. You know, black can have 2 queens, but they seem to just get mated by these 2 pieces no matter how they defend here. In the game, white took, and then black again wins, right? They check here and take the bishop, which is what really matters because now there's no checkmate. So it was like a, you know, a back and forth blunder moment. The other big deal, Johannes, I don't know if you're going to, or Ursus, I don't know if you're going to go back and check the VOD. We were following some of your game for a bit there. But the other thing to check is when your opponent played bishop e5, did you see c2 or not? Did you look at it? What did you calculate rightly or wrongly? You know, how did you handle this bishop e5 moment? I would say just spend like a few minutes reflecting on, you know, what you were thinking or not thinking at this point, what you saw or didn't see. It'll give you some insight into what to maybe work on going forward from there. I did, Cartier. We definitely missed you in the tournament this week. I hope next week the schedule will be clear and all. You'll know in advance. It'll work for you. I hope you'll be there and we'll get to watch your games. I'm sure that Charlie was missing you as well. You know you've got a big fan in him. And now let us go raid Cramling since we beat her yesterday, right? Always double check, probably. I don't know everything that's going on. It's going to take me a week or 2 to get my feet on the ground and figure out what all the programs are and what all I can or can't cover with the time I have. But my top two priorities here are going to be having these practice tournaments going again for everybody and getting the second season of Ultimate Sensei going. And from there, we'll try and add back, we'll try and get the Gauntlet and Dojo Rivals and other stuff going again, sub battles, etc. So we'll see. If you've got priorities, you can always send me a message and tell me what you think the priority should be. But I think that I think the verdict's clear that Ultimate Sensei is going to be the next priority here. So, all right. Take care, everybody. Be nice and polite to the Cramlings if they're sore about the sub battle. And I look forward to seeing you all again soon.